Welcome to Black Man Spy, U.S.-Iran Warcast, Day 61. Don't laugh. As a hint as to where I am on my secret mission, I have a mouthful of bread, cheese, and a nice topping of chutney. So, that being said, welcome to Black Man Spy, Day 61, United States-Iran Warcast, Peacecast, Ceasefirecast. I've given up. I'm going to call it Warcast because until there is an actual peace treaty, we are in a state of armed conflict according to the Geneva Convention. And that explains a lot of the silliness that we have. And with us is Jacob Kaarsbo, Danish intelligence officer extraordinaire, and back from surgery and the edge of death. With one hand is Wajeeh, a gay lion from Minneapolis, who had bunches of issues. So good morning, good afternoon, gentlemen, wherever you are. Welcome back, Waj.
Morning.
Glad to see you in health. Everyone's throwing Waj hearts. He gets hearts. Speaking of hearts, let's do a little administration. We haven't done it in a long time. For some strange reason, I think Substack has reorganized. I lost 500 followers in like 24 hours. I don't think that's right. I think there were a lot of fake or bot accounts on here probably to attack me. So please go to the bottom of this screen for all three of us, and you'll see that little heart with those little floaty hearts. That talks to the algorithm. If you press those hearts like I'm doing, and I give them 10 or 15 pumps, that will tell the algorithm everyone loves this podcast. We've taken a little bit of a dip. We were number 9 in world politics, but I think we're now number 10. I think that's principally because the war is stabilized. Nothing is really going on with regards to the war. We could be entering a geopolitical phase where the face-off between the United States and Iran is now literally ready to crush the global economy. And both sides just don't give a flip. So with that, let's talk about that. Good morning, Jacob. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. And
Good.
let's talk about it. As I said yesterday, there could be some escalatory dynamics going on here, but let's see.
Well, and let's see what coffee mug you're rocking today.
My Russia, go fuck yourself from yesterday is in the dishwasher. So this is the old DIA mug.
Okay, back to your old standby. Wajeeh, you're one-handed today. What are you rocking?
Oh, just a regular conventional.
Yeah, but that's a nice, ceramic cup you have there. I don't think we've seen that one before. Normally you're having those. Well, I am having afternoon tea somewhere, and I have a very dainty lady's teacup, and I have a very dainty pot, and I'm having Earl Grey tea. Yesterday, somebody correctly guessed where I was, but not for the right reasons. So I'm still not going to give it up. I'm not going to tell you the locale. If you can get the country, you probably get a pretty good idea. And I'm giving it a squirt of lemon. And I will be revealing on our chat, when we start the chat, I will be revealing where I was this weekend and what I was doing. And I'll give you a hint. I was giving a speech. I was, at an event that I come to every year. And I'm sort of a celebrity within, I don't know why, but in this particular genre. And it is fascinating where I was. We might even do a live chat. Oh, actually, I'm supposed to be doing a Substack live for paid subscribers to talk about the event that I was in this weekend. It has a lot to do with spying, espionage, has nothing to do with what we're talking about with regards to the war in the Middle East. So with that, let's talk about the war in the Middle East. Wajeeh, there has been no change in the casualty count for almost a week, not since that journalist was killed in Lebanon. Even though there have said to be some Israeli strikes there, I'm not getting any indications that the casualty count has changed. What do you say?
There has no been casualty change. I am turning off my camera to make it easy for my one hand to take the phone off and point the camera at the oil prices because that's what's coming next after the
Okay.
casualty came up.
Somebody says there has been a change in casualty counts there, but we shall see in Lebanon.
Maybe in Lebanon only.
Yeah, I think that's because I think that's because of the strikes this morning that there's been talk about it. I just don't think it's been updated on those trackers that we follow. So it's probably to be expected that in the next couple of days we'll see it creep up.
Is WTI now listed further down? Oh, there it is. Over a little more. There you go. Good morning. Wow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, no one believes what Donald Trump says anymore. West Texas Intermediary is up $99. It's pushing 100. Brent North Sea crude is 111. We're getting close to the records here. The record was 115 for Brent North Sea crude. Merbon 106. That's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Because yesterday was supposed to be Market Manipulation Monday, and they were supposed to announce some amazing breakthrough. And I think one of the amazing false breakthroughs that I thought I heard was that the United States government yesterday said that Iran, out of nowhere, sent them a proposal for ending the war with their things, and it was supposed to be very favorable. Apparently, the market no longer believes, what would you say? They no longer believe pathological liars. For West Texas Intermediate to be back to 100, almost $100, which means it'll be over 100 today. It's 9 in the morning in the United States. It's still trading for another 3 hours here in Europe. That's crazy. And for now, Brent North Sea crude 111. The peak was 115. And that was when real combat was going on. I mean, the war was going on, which tells me that the dynamics of oil, remember we said this yesterday, there's an oil gap that is about $35 from whatever the peak is to reality. And that 115 was the peak, 150 was the reality. And I think the market is finally contracting to where there is no oil in this gap. There's no oil in that gap. And when people start realizing oil is a giant swimming pool that is draining out, that market reality of 111 is going to smack into $150 a barrel. Yike. Michael Madsen says it right here. Oil shock is coming. Yeah. What do you say, Watch?
Someone was asking me in my messages what do I expect oil prices to go to if nothing happens. I stand by my predictions that I said more than 3 weeks ago that the oil prices will go up to $200 a barrel. It may not happen today, it will happen within the next few weeks. The reason I say this is because as long as the supply is limited, the United States now is selling a lot of oil to the global market. But even then, they're selling a lot of oil that's supposed to go toward the U.S. Stockpile, which is already running very, very, very low. And because it's running very low, that we would use this oil that we would be selling right now to fill up those empty tanks. But now we are in a dangerous territory. Trump trying to make this as a way that, oh, look, we're funding the U.S. economy. But the reality of the situation, yes, maybe you're getting some income from the WTI crude oil that you're selling to global market, but your damage to the global economy is having a bigger effect on your American wallet at almost every other product. That income doesn't do anything to the American consumer.
Right. Yesterday we talked about this of the paper amount, which is being falsely pushed down, is now reaching out to the physical amount. Somebody a little earlier, I just missed your name, sorry, said that in Sri Lanka it's selling for $200 a barrel because to keep that country running. Same thing. We're going to talk about the hijackings. The second ship has been hijacked off of Somalia. It wasn't an oil tanker, but what it is, it's a sign of desperation. Everything in the world now is going to cost a lot more. And in a place where we hadn't had any maritime hijackings off of Somalia in a long time, when when there's no money, when there's no food, and people get poor, they get desperate and they turn to crime, right? And now everybody and their dog heard off of Gede or Kismayu or wherever it was in Somalia. It was like, hey, they pulled over a $50 million haul of oil. And, all the other Somali pirates are out there going, what? That's a ship. And they all they jump on their boats and they go out to the ship. Right. And I just want to call before you start, Jacob, I just want to call for those of you who are watching this podcast. The way that we're talking and interacting here right now is precisely how any intelligence staff that is coming in for the morning briefing would be reading this. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick. We have been missing one of our most faithful people on this podcast, guy named Dan Demendeberg, right? And he was from Tel Aviv. And for about a week, we were like, has anybody seen Dan? Because, he always comes up with some very salient points. And I thought he had insulted him. So, sorry, quick aside, Jason. Dan says, good morning from California. He's not in Tel Aviv. He's in California. It's 6 a.m. I'm going back to sleep. Please know I'm still around. Just watching later. Miss you guys. So thank you, everybody who I guess he saw the 100 people go, where's Dan? So, okay, Jacob, please, back to oil.
Yeah, and the impact on Iran off of this is not what the Trump administration hopes, that they will start panicking because they can't market their oil because of the blockade. The impact on Iran is that they feel emboldened, and they feel emboldened also because the foreign minister Aragachi is traveling around. And you saw what the Russians said at the UN last night. They said, well, Iran is in its good right to keep up the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz after it's been attacked. And who does it help? It helps the Russians. So, that whole dynamic is really what both those parties are after. It will go in that direction, and the Iranian demands to roll back this whole struggle of the world economy are going to increase. Unfortunately.
Yeah, yes.
Whoa. What's up, man?
Breaking news that we have not talked about yet. Yes. Someone is bringing it. UAE. UAE has announced that they are leaving OPEC, baby. No more OPEC. We don't need OPEC.
Yeah.
You know what?
Exactly.
This is okay. I'm sorry. We are in knives out territory.
Yeah.
We are in every man for himself. If the UAE is leaving OPEC, this is essentially how can I put it? A Deadpool double fingers up. We're going to pump as much oil as we can right now. We have access to Fujairah once we get the Habshan pumping station 1 and 2 back online, and we're gonna make money, y'all. That's what that means, to put it in simplistic American terms, right? They're gonna make money, and they're no longer part of the club. Question: could this be the beginning of the end of OPEC?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. You heard it here on Black Man Spy first. Could
Yeah.
this be the beginning of the end of OPEC?
Because you already have BRICS.
No. Well, BRICS is an economic, loose affiliation of the nations that
Yeah,
are below the G20. OPEC
but the
since
whole idea,
1973. Yeah, go on.
the, the whole idea of BRICS is how to skip the US dollar. And
Well,
and OPEC is only dealing with the US dollar. So if you take out OPEC and you go to BRICS, and even though it's only an economic forum, the whole idea of BRICS is how do we do economic trade not using the American dollar? And if OPEC is dying and these countries are already joining BRICS, like Saudi Arabia, like UAE, already and BRICS, they're doing these oil trade with China. They're using the yuan. They're not using the US dollar anymore.
yeah, but look, OPEC was started by Saudi Arabia and then the UAE, the other Gulf states joined it in order to have total oil dominance at controlled prices so that they as a bloc could influence the price of oil. Again, this is like life rats off of a sinking ship. This is lifeboat stuff. Like the ship is on fire. I have a lifeboat. I'm going to quietly go over the side and start rowing away, and no one's going to notice until he's halfway away from the ship. This is literally flip. I mean, I could never imagine in my lifetime, because I remember the oil crisis in 1973. I was 14 years old, and my dad waiting in line every other day because his license plate number had a different number, and he would wait 4 or 5 hours. That power is gone now if UAE leaves. Jacob, what do you say, man?
Yeah, I mean it's a rupture. It's a rupture, and as you said, could this be the end of OPEC? I don't know, but it certainly is a rupture, and let's see where it ends. Because when one country, and not just any country, UAE is important. When it leaves, everyone else may also start to to look other ways. But the thing is, how will the UAE market oil? They can get some off Fujairah, I guess.
Look,
Uh,
my late wife at one point had 50,000 Pakistani workers working for her. And when they turn on the machine that gets things, they're going to call in every major company out there, and they're going to have 100,000 guys rebuilding that pipeline and building a second pipeline from Habshan. And they see it. They see not dollar signs. I think they see their national economic salvation at stake. And
yeah.
I'm going to go in broad, far out prediction right now. It's not very far out. I'm going to tell you who's next. Who do you guys think is next? No. What do you
Yeah,
think is
who's next? No. That's yeah. I was wondering the same thing. I don't have the answer.
Give
I'd
it a
be
moment's
interested.
thought. Give it a moment's thought, and you'll, as soon as I say it, you'll go, "Oh yeah." Wajeeh, what do you think?
In terms of who's pulling out of OPEC,
Yeah, who would be next?
Russia.
Russia's not a member of OPEC.
Yeah, they are.
Are they a member of OPEC? Okay. All right. No, won't be Russia. Russia can't transport enough oil. Russia, even though it's sanctioned. My money, because this is about money now, right? This is about billions of
No,
dollars.
Russia is not a member. Sorry, that
Okay,
was the
that's what
wrong
I thought.
information.
They're part of BRICS, but not OPEC. This is
They're
about
part
pure
of
money.
OPEC Plus.
Yes, this is about pure money grabbing. You're in the giant machine, and now whoever can get product to market is going to make an enormous amount of money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
crazy money.
Yeah.
You know, especially because if they're projecting the physical value of the oil, Habshan pipeline might be back online in 3, 4, 5 weeks, which could be teetering on the edge of economic collapse. Then $200 barrel oil is very realistic. But my guess,
Iran?
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
because nobody's blockading airports.
No,
right?
No.
The United States no longer cares about economic impact to the not to what's the delta that they in the
the Niger Delta.
Is it the Niger Delta? And no one cares about the economic impact. You're also going to start seeing this as a secondary effect. You know what you're going to start seeing?
Drill, baby, drill.
What the UAE has done is they could have possibly definitely conducted a domino effect. But I believe the reason the UAE might be pulling out of OPEC, and you brought a very good point, is Saudi Arabia is the one that created OPEC. I don't know if you guys have been keeping attention about the Saudi UAE social media culture war, especially within the last 2 weeks. It has picked up it has picked up badly. And to the point where the United Arab Emirates brought in a Saudi dissident, and brought in a journalist who is an opposition of the Saudi government to a conference in the UAE, and he openly criticized the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And he was only missing the name, and he was just short of the name. He described exactly who he was talking about. We all know who he was talking about. So the culture war between the UAE and Saudi Arabia has picked up, and this could be a move against the Saudi government more than anything else.
Did he refer to him as Prince or Bonesaw or something?
He was sort of saying that exact word, but yeah.
Mohammed bin Saw.
Yeah, the man. I don't say his name, but he owns a wood chipper.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, back to the briefing. My guess is that it's Nigeria. And here are some of the secondary effects we're going to see. And this will be my intelligence indicator for you. You, over in oil economics, keep an eye on this. When there is massive amounts of money of oil to be made, one of the indicators we see in Nigeria and countries like Angola, any place that has even these small pipelines down there, the attack dogs are being trained right now. And what we see is tapping events, civilians coming out with trucks and literally crank saws and start tapping those oil pipelines. And what usually happens? Explosions, right? And usually from the refined products down there in the Niger Delta, where all of that stuff gets put onto ships. So mark my words, when oil hits $150 a barrel, and now aviation fuel, Diane Kay mentioned aviation fuel is going for $216 a barrel now. Any refined product, you're going to hear this. Good morning, this is the BBC. 373 people were killed in a oil pipeline explosion in Lagos, Nigeria. They were like, yep. It's almost clockwork down there in sub-Saharan Africa, where they get into that oil looting, and organized gangs come there first, and then the locals come, and they're like 1,000 people around a refined products line that is being tapped, and it explodes and it kills everybody. That's just one of the indicators that I've seen several times in my career that indicate the economic strife is so hard down here at the bottom that they will risk their life. One spark can set off those diesel pipelines or gasoline pipelines. So that's just one to look out for. Okay, wow, we didn't even we just got to the price of oil. We haven't even gotten to significant activities.
Oh, wow.
Okay, SIGACs. Do either of you guys have a SIGAC that you would like to talk about? Although the UAE pulling out of OPEC is going to be huge. What do you guys think that's going to do to the price of oil today? Yeah, up.
Going up.
Not one word. But
Going up.
It's almost like I could see, it's almost like I see these guys going over to Fujairah, right? Opening up all the spigots, getting out all the trucks, everything that can contain a barrel of oil, and they go, open for business, bitches. And suddenly all those ships that are going to the United States are heading to Fujairah, right? Where they don't need bunkering, just load up and leave, right? So you'll have every small lighter, every small boat, anything that can carry 100 barrels of oil. What's 100 times 200, right? Is 20,000 or thereabouts. And you're going to see people just floating over there. Again, remember, I said this before, people offered me oil all the time. I lived in the UAE for 10 years, and I don't think there was a week that went by where someone didn't offer for me to buy barrels of oil, from spillage to recovered, from that had spilled in sand and then they had refiltered it and put it into barrels. People are out there buying that. What do you guys say?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Anyone, you were when you were saying it yesterday, I was like, oh my God, he's describing the exact situation. When you're like, everyone is emptying up the ATMs and they're flying somewhere else to buy like a stolen ship from the Somali land, that's exactly what would be happening. The whole global economy is short on
This is going to be
oil.
This is going to be bad. Here's another component of this. Oh, by the way, Fiona Goodwin says she made a prediction as to where I was. I suspect she saw Times Radio this morning. Fiona, come back and justify why you think I am where you say I am. But all of this happening, all of this happening is not just going to be unstable fluctuations in the global market. It's going to be unstable fluctuations in the military scene. You're going to see unstable fluctuations in civil strife, like I said, with Nigeria. We're going to be having Mad Max diesel wars, right? And what do you guys say?
But it's really quite amazing that it's only being factored in now, and that these markets for weeks and weeks continued to believe all this manipulation and all this nonsense that, we've called out a million times. That's been so easy to see. And still, regardless, the markets would say, well, the Strait of Hormuz will open again shortly, blah, blah, blah. And that has been like the recurring thing. And now it's only now that it's reality is setting in.
Yeah. We talked about that yesterday, that the markets appeared to be complete and total suckers for every time Trump made it. And it wasn't Mr. Global. It was another analysis. I can't recall, but he was a huge oil trader. And he goes, what is going on in Wall Street? It's just Wall Street. The other markets aren't buying it. That's why Brent's North Sea crude's at 111 right now. And he goes, they believe every lie they're told, and that there are these high in the sky guys who think that they're going to try to get whatever they can out of there. Somebody says, why not Libya? But it's just utterly amazing that these people will believe any lie they're told in order to maybe buy on the dip. I don't think there's a dip anymore.
No.
Oh, jeez.
Why?
If there's no way to make money, if $111 or 99 West Texas Intermediates, the dip, even Barron Trump's going to start losing money now. They won't be able to sell that oil that they had. And a lot of their money isn't cash. This isn't, like going to Salalah, Oman with a pickup truck, right? And putting it into the back of your truck. Which brings in another factor I think we are going to have to really consider. By the way, Iran peace negotiations, whatever you're hearing today, it's bullshit. Nothing's happening, right? Let's set that aside. So that was your U.S.-Iran war update. Set that aside.
Yeah.
The potential for global instability from oil right now. I'm saying this as a professional intelligence analyst. We're going to start seeing it. You may even see where Venezuela may suddenly realize, first off, 90% of the U.S. assets off Venezuela are gone. And that guy who was I can't recall his name, who was the minister of the interior, he was Maduro's torturer, right? That guy, yeah, he was. He was Maduro's torturer. And about 4 weeks ago, he appointed himself as Minister of Defense. And when you're talking beaucoup d'argent, as we say in French, right? There's a lot of money in oil to where the Chinese may defy the United States. We can't put in a blockade. He may overthrow the vice president, right? Because now real instability will happen. People can't eat. People can't get fuel. People can't drive their cars, right? And therefore,
and what happened when people can't eat? And what happened when people can't fill up their car? What happened when people can't do a lot of those things? Crime goes up.
Crime goes
Hungry goes up.
astronomical.
People start getting upset. It doesn't matter whether you're in the U.S. or whether you're in the Middle East. People keep telling me, like, Wajeeh, like, this is only increasing economic inequality. And as economic inequality increases, you're going to see more people hungry in the street. Umar ibn Khattab, one of the companions of the Prophet, which was known to be the most literal, most hardline companions of the Prophet. There was a time in his time where hunger was spread and people were hungry and they were stealing. And he stopped cutting people's hands. And because it's part of Sharia law, if you steal, you cut this person's hand. There's like, oh, Prophet companion, why did you stop cutting people's hands that are stealing? He goes, they're not stealing to be corrupt. They're stealing because they're hungry. The reality of the situation, this has existed for thousands of years and will continue to exist. As long as the people are hungry, they will steal. If we continue this war, you're only degrading the U.S. economy. You're only making Americans hate the U.S. leadership. And only think of what is that doing to the U.S. image across the globe. Across the globe, people are hungry. They're not able to feed their kids. They're not able to buy medicine for their family. And all they can think of, God, fuck this Trump administration.
I know. But look, when you see the cascading effects also, there was an economic report this week that said that U.S. farmers are so short on urea this year that they are going to plant maybe only 40% of what they usually plant. And that means, well, those items are going to market, truck, diesel costs for actually moving that whatever product they have there. What makes them think that they're going to sell at any decent profit? And then we have this request where, of course, the Trump White House's answer to everything is welfare for white people. Let's just be honest. And he said that they want to be paid to offset the cost of all aviation fuel increases for the U.S. airline industry. Who has all this money, right? Where you're talking $20-30 billion, not to get new fuel, to offset the cost of existing fuel and what their projections for fuel are. All wars, people keep forgetting von Clausewitz, that war is politics by another mean. Politics is the stability of your nation, your people, and your markets, right? And war is destabilizing because you need to get something out of it that you can't get through regular politics.
Yeah. But that's also why, as we talked about yesterday, and as I said in the beginning, we have these escalatory dynamics in this whole situation, because Trump is not going to be able to change this. Whatever he says, whatever, crazy statements he comes out with, however he tries to manipulate the market, this is just going to get worse and worse. So, and as it gets worse and worse, the Iranian demands are going to go up. So he's going to be in a worse and worse negotiating position. And mark my marks up here, the quotation marks, because the Iranians are just going to sit back and drink some extra sweet tea and feel they're in a good place.
They're in an awesome. Well, you know what I call it? I call it the chai strategy. Have another cup of chai. Have another cup of chai. Let's do it. Exactly. We're making money. Somebody did correct me. They're right. Lagos is not near the Niger Delta. It's Port Harcourt. I've actually been to Port Harcourt on a ship, so it's very interesting. Oil tanker city. It's like Fujairah. They're going to be making money. Somebody actually made a good comment. Toothpicker said, I checked on tickets to Poland and it went up $500. It never goes up that much in a few weeks. I know from New York City, round trip from New York to Warsaw, that it's generally about $1,200. So if we're looking for a $2,000 round trip to this place, then you're talking real bank.
Talking about Poland, I was ripped off for a flight ticket on Saturday because I missed my flight because the border transfer from Ukraine into Poland delayed me by more than 2 hours. So I didn't make the plane in Warsaw. I raced from Chelm to Warsaw. And
Never schedule yourself for a same day transfer. First off, it's always a 2 to 3 hour stop at the Polish-Ukraine border. Second, you got to go into Old Town Warsaw. You got to go to Old Town, where the Old Town Market is, and you got to go get yourself a dark beer and a what do you call it? A dark beer and a boar stew, Polish boar stew.
Boar stew. But anyway, this was, they often schedule the arrival in Poland, and then sometimes they are late by a couple of hours, sometimes they are not. And I had a birthday party on Saturday night. I tried to make, and now I missed it, and I paid dearly because of the aviation fuel.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know what? You could have driven from Poland to Denmark at that point, or at least driven to Berlin, right? Yeah. And you could have gotten yourself a short range ticket. That being said, well, as we're talking about the economies here, as you notice that this is not a joke. Within every intelligence organization, we understand the downstreaming events of the kind of information that we would be seeking, right? And even though I might be watching Iranian F-4s or watching the behaviors of U.S., or Saudi F-15s or something like that, you're going to start seeing these impacts. Does the Saudi Navy do less sorties out of Yanbu? More importantly, do the Yemenis suddenly decide it is time to make a boatload of money, right? Because they had to be keeping their powder dry for something. You think they're going to let those silly Somalis steal all the ships that they could be getting, they could be pulling these things over, hijacking them, offloading the oil, and then making an enormous amount of money. They could let the ships go. The ships aren't worth anything. The Houthis, at some point, that money's going to get too sweet. Too sweet.
Too sweet.
Yeah.
Too sweet.
I don't know if you know this, but the Somali pirates and the Houthis, according to my studies, have a good alliance.
And sure they do.
In fact, the Houthis might as well hire some of these Somali pirates to steal some of these petroleum boats for the Houthis themselves.
You know what's funny? if the Houthis hijack these ships, they'll sell it to the Saudis. There's Saudis waiting right there at the border. Like they'll transship it. Holy cow. I've never seen such an integration. Okay, we've beat oil to death. It's almost taken up the entire show, but it does show you that the world is now moved from US futures in the US are up. Yeah, of course. But we are now getting all of the secondary, tertiary, and quaternary effects of Donald Trump. One man has destabilized the entirety of the world. And we may be looking at it to where people are going to die in droves, especially since India can't get the precursors that they need for generic medicines. And if they're not being, and who's going to be shipping free generic medicines to sub-Saharan Africa if the price of diesel fuel to power that ship that's going over there? And then if it can't be insured, by the way, I don't know if you guys know it, Lloyd's of London put out a notice. The MTO, when they put out the notice that a container ship had been taken by Somalia, they also put out a notice that they are going to give you lower risks and more risk you if you use the IRGC multi-pass lane.
Yeah, exactly. They're validating what the Iranians have done.
They'll validate your multi-pass.
Oh, fuck.
Crazy ass world, y'all.
You were saying like the whole thing is covered by like oil news. I was thinking, well, it is an economic war by the end of the day.
This is beyond. We are the economic war that is happening now that Trump thinks is brilliant because he and his friends are making money is going to start spilling over into real war. And when you see things like Mali being attacked by a hybrid group of Al Qaeda, right? Al Qaeda of the Islamic Maghreb members, along with Berber, Tuareg tribesmen driving out Russia and taking 3 cities. By the way, been to a couple of these. They're not cities. They're like villages. They're like markets, trading areas. But they get all of the Russian weapons and equipment, and now they're going to march on Bamako, right? The capital of Mali, by the way, Bamako. I know a fun place there in Bamako. But when you look at that,
also did some years ago, and that was why the French came into Mali.
Operation,
and it actually turned out that the intelligence services, both in France and in Denmark and other places, had misread these signals because the Islamists, the Al Qaeda's, and the Azawad Liberation Front attacked south because they were trying to do a preemptive attack, and then the French thought they were heading for Bamako and went in, and the rest is history.
Yeah, well, let me tell you this. This is a country that had a coup d'etat that was led by like a lieutenant. This guy wasn't even a captain, right? I think he promoted himself to captain, right? Some 28-year-old kid who Russia winked to him and said, hey, if we give you all this clandestine weapons and equipment, we'll give you the intelligence and you can overthrow the government. Then you invite us in, you kick France out entirely, right? This is 1960s Congo shit, right? You kick France out entirely. We'll come in with PMC Wagner's Africa Corps and we'll protect you, and you can steal all the money you want. And whatever minerals we get, we're going to give you 20% in straight gold. As I used to say, I'm going to start putting gold bars on the table. And when you can't carry it out, then that's your money. Right? When you can just barely get it out in a backpack, that's your money and the rest is mine. And this guy bought into that. That guy's going to wake up dead. No, didn't he leave? One of the presidents, I know the Minister of Defense was killed. And they were walking around in his uniform. I don't know if you saw that photograph, but this is really a bad situation. Now, what I predict is going to happen, even though Mali is not an oil producing state, right? It's a client state. It does have mineral wealth, which is exchanged for the resources that it's need that comes in and out of the trans-Saharan pipeline, trans-Saharan vehicle lines, right? Out there, they go around in these massive trucks that carry in all the food, all the fuel, all the people, day and night across the Sahara Desert. But here's what I'm going to predict about that, because those minerals is how that nation was fueling itself and getting resources from the other parts of Africa. Now we could have an Al Qaeda run state, an Islamic state of the Islamic Sahel, right? Right in the middle of that place. Same thing happened in Chad. The United States removed all forces from Chad. We used to have a drone base in Mali.
Niger.
Niger, we had.
I wanna let the listeners know there is a distinct difference between Al Qaeda member and when we say an ISIS member, and the difference is how extreme they are.
Mm-hmm.
The extremists of the extreme Al Qaeda members end up becoming ISIS members, and those are usually way more hardcore, and they usually fight Al Qaeda members because they're too softies.
Oh,
So I just want to let you guys understand what we mean by when we say ISIS. Thank you. Go ahead.
That being said, here's my prediction on that, because all of this is a knockoff, right? The Russians, the Malian army just collapsed, right? Those guys are, right? They're around whoever the strong guy is. You can't train them to be great, independent or great. So I suspect in the next 24 to 48 hours, intelligence projection, everybody, whoever's running the Africa desk, heads up, right? Intelligence projection, French airborne forces of the first French, French Foreign Legion parachutist brigade regiment, right? REFP, and then the French parachute regiment will be once again dropping into Mali to take that country back from Al Qaeda.
But the thing is, the French have given it up because there's no one now that they can put into power, because they basically surrendered when the Russians came in and brought our friend the captain.
It'll be a French protectorate. It'll go, look, it's 1962 all over again, right? It's 1960. Pick a year in the early 60s. This is now
a freaky mess. That's what it is.
This is now about DGSE, right? French's version of the CIA, going to Macron and going, it's a francophone country. We can stabilize it. We will be the government. We will be the army. And we are going to stay there, our French asses forever. Now, why is this important? Because if Mali falls to this country, the entirety of the Saharan Sahel, that's countries east and west, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, Mauritania, all of these countries are big empty deserts, and they all require fuel and resources that come from either Algeria or Nigeria, right? And if people start hoarding their oil and diesel fuel, and it goes up to insane amounts of money, the entire Islamic Sahel, from Sudan all the way across the Sahara Desert to south of Morocco, Mauritania, would collapse to terrorism. Thank you, Donald Trump.
Yeah. There are certain prospects in this.
And we pulled out all of our forces. All American forces have been pulled out. This is also a place I wouldn't be surprised if Trump suddenly starts talking about parachuting U.S. forces into the Sahel and taking back our base in Niger. This is madness. This is madness. This is one man may ruin 20 years of counterterrorism effort in the Islamic Sahel because he attacked Iran.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all connected, people. It's all connected.
Just on the Middle East, Malcolm, before we go to questions, what we said about Lebanon, there are signs on both sides that both the Israelis and Hezbollah are putting pressure. So it's also in like an escalatory cycle. Because Hezbollah on its side is putting pressure on the Lebanese government due to all this talk about disarmament of Hezbollah. So that whole ceasefire may unravel as we speak or within the next days. So yeah,
well,
really unstable.
Before we go to questions, I would like to make a proposal to you and the audience. I propose a name change to this podcast, away from U.S.-Iran Warcast to U.S. Global Crisis, or I should call it the Global Crisis Cast.
Global mayhem.
Yeah. I'm liking Crisis Cast because I can't keep track of everything. And now we're starting to see everything is associated with the other. Now Venezuela is coming into it. West Africa is coming into it. The Sahel may collapse in its entirety, which could move millions of refugees who will cross the Sahara Desert going up to the Libyan, Algerian, Tunisian coast to cross into Europe, which will give us a refugee crisis on a massive scale going into Italy, France, and Spain, which means that they will eventually cross the channel and go over to England if they get through. This is insane. And then we have, the Eastern Mediterranean with the Israelis and the Lebanese. I mean, I can no longer focus just on the Strait of Hormuz or Iran. Everything that's happening is a knockoff. We're pulling over ships off of Malaysia now, to deny Chinese refineries as punishment, to punish China, to deny Chinese refineries, thinking that and sanctioning the largest refinery in China is going to make America great again. No, you're just guaranteeing the invasion of Taiwan, right? Oh my God. What do you think?
Oh yeah.
Name?
No, it's true. It's true, man. Crisis.
I'm saying Global
Crisis Cast.
Okay, we're going to change that. We're still going to keep up the Iran war update. It'll still be date 62 tomorrow, whatever it is, but we're going to go to Crisis Cast because I think we have a broader scope of things that we should be discussing now. For example, the Ukraine has discovered, or not, did I say the Ukraine? Slap me. I was in the Ukrainian army. Ukraine has now discovered that a second ship full of Ukrainian wheat has gone to Haifa, Israel, offloaded, which now puts Netanyahu in alliance with Moscow. And Haaretz newspaper this morning discovered it's the 32nd shipment of stolen grain that Netanyahu...
32nd?
32nd shipment of stolen grain that Netanyahu has allowed into Israel. And that now there is an Israeli-Russia financial relationship in all of the stolen grain from the Donbass. Can you believe this? I mean, and so Ukraine yesterday put out a statement that the entirety of Israel and Ukraine's relationship is now based on this ship. And they said if this ship docks in Haifa and offloads that grain, that's it. U.S., Ukrainian, or Iranian, listen to me, I can't even get it straight. Israel-Ukrainian relations, you know what that means? It means two things. One, that they're going to stop sharing resources, quite possibly with the United States. Two, you're going to suddenly see them grain ships blow up and sink in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. And it wasn't just any dude who said it. It was the Ukrainian foreign minister. So,
yikes.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? Also, speaking of which, now that we've expanded this into the geopolitical cast, right, global crisis cast, the Ukrainians did a brilliant operation about 2 months ago, blowing up a liquid natural gas carrier that was a Russian Shadow Fleet ship, and they blew it the fuck up off of Malta. That ship is now drifting out of control. It's empty. It's a hulk towards the Libyan coast, where it could have an ecological disaster. No one has taken to tell you the truth, it needs to be sunk by the Italian Navy or somebody, because it's now a hazard to navigation. But it was a Ukrainian intelligence operation, which, by the way, Mr. Kirill Budanov, I am jealous that you did not ask me to join. I would have disappeared, baby. They'd be like, "Where's Malcolm? He's off Substack." It's like, I'm working for GUR in North Africa. So I'd be doing sneaky shit. Sudan and in Algeria and Mali, that'd be the least of the shit that would be happening. It would be like, Russian things are blowing up everywhere. So anyway, that's coming. An ecological disaster on the Libyan coast, just as all those small boats are going to be heading to France, Greece, Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to questions. This world's crazy, man.
Let's go.
Okay.
A lot of viewers are wanting me to ask you a question, Malcolm, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a lot of people who are asking about the current situation, U.S. soldiers and battleships. Are they okay? Are they getting enough food and water? There are a lot of people are so concerned about their family members abroad.
Here's the problem. When we send Scooby packages, right? Which is what we call those care packages full of Scooby snacks. I remember when I was in Iraq and I was getting it delivered by U.S. Post because I was working for the coalition authorities. I received 2 out of 6. The other 6 were stolen, right? A lot of this mail for the aircraft carriers are piling up, and they're not getting their box mail. They're only getting letter mail and critical mail. So if you're not in the Eastern Mediterranean or someplace, even ships like the Ford, we would get those through resupply ships. Those ships are only taking critical war items right now because we're technically in a state of combat. So they're getting food, they're getting adequate food, but the chandlering in the northern Mediterranean, northern Indian Ocean is very hard. India, maybe the UAE is allowing them to buy stuff in bulk in Fujairah, but how do you get it to the UAE, right? How do you get it there? There's no food going anywhere, and the prices are astronomical. So. Okay, let's see some of the other questions. A couple of you have taken a guess as to where I am. I just want to know, you guys are watching Times Radio. Times Radio interviewed me this morning. I'm pretty sure there is no way you could guess where I am without having watched that. But the question was where? Because the answer that everyone is giving is, I'm in Wales. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not in Wales. But I was. So you've got a pretty good idea. If you want to Where's Waldo me, you're going to have to work harder than that. But I did do an interview with Times Radio this morning, and those of you who were seeing it know, they were like, "Oh, welcome to Wales, Malcolm." So I was in Wales. And I think we're going to do a paid subscriber podcast to talk about a subject about Wales, which I think you will all enjoy, those of you who come on it. So, so Murphy's friend says, do you think Iran might barter oil for ballistic missiles from their neighbor Pakistan? Oh, actually, that was an old question. By the way, no. Iran will barter ballistic missiles for oil from North Korea. which is where they got a lot of their tech. They got it from North Korea. And North Korea, here's what the kind of things that they need: oxide mixers. They need the special rings so that the ballistic missiles can separate stage from stage, things like that. Susan says, how long
Fuel
for
for
economic?
their missiles as well.
Yeah. Susan says, how long for economic pain and other countries pushing Trump to stop his demands? Well, it's between A and B, right? It's in Trump's mind, everything's awesome. The United States is at the lowest demand for oil that it's ever had, and the prices are great, and nothing is wrong. So
And
when
it's
you're
the
living
hottest
in the
country in the world.
hottest market in the world, it's delusion. It's delusion. So if you believe delusion, then nothing's wrong.
You know, when you go to the gym and you got like those like really big 45-pound looking dumbbells, but like they're like 15 pounds really. And like people stack them up so they could look like they're like doing a whole bunch of heavy weight. That's
Okay.
basically Trump for us at the moment. He's
Mhm.
a whole bunch of balloon left wing weights.
Uh-huh. Hey, Mike Van Story says he's waiting for surgery, but he had to tune in. Hey, Mike, good luck in your surgery. You know,
Good luck.
well, what is it with that vasectomy, right? Isn't that what you told us? No, just joking. But good luck, Mike. We'll be waiting for you to come back out of post-surgical recovery. And as soon as you get out, be sure to check the recordings of these shows. Michelle A asked a question very early this morning or late yesterday that I screenshotted it. I wanted to answer it. What about the oil storage, Iranian oil storage hitting critical mass on Karg Island? Won't that put pressure on the Iranians? Al Jazeera said shutting down its pumps would cause catastrophic damage to the oil fields. That's true. And I understand that the Iranians are now putting oil on anything. They're bringing up old tanks that are not clean. They're putting out trucks. They're preparing a train line that was in horrible condition to start taking oil tankers. They will probably have to buy those oil tanks from Pakistan or Azerbaijan or Turkey or even Iraq. They are desperate and they want to create a pipeline going straight to China.
Yeah.
All I say is the money is so good that you have to take it. The key thing is that there's going to be more than enough companies out there that'll be willing to bring in empty ships that will not declare that they're going to Karg Island. They'll declare they're going to Kuwait City, run up to Karg Island, fill up with oil, and wait to see if this thing breaks. The money is just too sweet. I don't know about shutting the pumps off, doing catastrophic damage to the oil fields. That's an excellent question. I think we need to do some research on that. Okay.
So my research shows even if we hit Iran's most critical economic infrastructure,
Mhm.
Iran can keep going for at least 2-3 months because they can oppress their people economically and still get away with a lot more than the U.S. could. Um, and they're betting on a chicken game where they're just waiting on Trump to get either enough pressure, and Trump is waiting for Iranians to have enough pressure on them. We'll
Mhm.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead, Jacob.
No,
I like to.
I just fully agree. I mean, they'll also try to exploit it and say, "Well, this is an American war against the people of Iran," blah blah blah. So they'll also try to exploit it for their own purposes.
Yeah. One question somebody asked was, Malcolm, is there any body of water you haven't been on? Yes, there is. The Black Sea? No, I've been on the Black Sea. Never mind with that one. The Caspian Sea. Of course, I've never been in the Caspian Sea. I have never been in the Yellow Sea. I pull no Asian operations. So you won't see me, doing submarine special operations off of North Korea. Sea of Okhotsk, haven't been in that one. What is it? The Bering Straits area, I haven't been there. Been in the Pacific, and I haven't been around Antarctica, right, on either side. So you got me there. I have been to the South. I've been to the South Sea. I've seen the Southern Cross, and everywhere else in the Atlantic, Indian Ocean, Indian Sea, Bay of Bengal. That was a good one. So yeah, I've been around. Look, I'm a freaking sailor, and I only borrow ships. And when you see my memoir, you'll realize, it's a platform for me, right? An intelligence collection platform, or I'm supervising other people's collection and things like that. So that's a good question. Christopher Grassi says, "Do you think Trump's adult diaper has the same payload capacity as a B-1 bomber?" No, because the B-1 bomber doesn't have flexible storage. These are our fans, guys. Okay. I mean,
best question of the day.
Okay. Nancy Lewis says Vance is now saying the Pentagon is not telling Trump the truth about declining munition stocks. Here's my problem with what J.D. Vance is saying these days. You guys know this from old intelligence, Jacob. There is such a thing as controlled opposition, right? Where an agency creates a group or manipulates a group of people to make it look like they're very concerned, right? They're concerned trolls. And, they're, oil companies funding Greenpeace, right? And through 2 or 3 cutouts in order to make sure that they can literally control what they do by giving them the right amount of money, and they actually harm themselves in their effort. I think J.D. Vance is Trump's controlled opposition.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it might well be because, then you see all this stuff about him going to Islamabad and him going to Budapest, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think it is.
Okay. Carol Recker made a good guess as to where I was, England or Luxembourg. And I'm going to tell you how she knew to guess these two, because other than the extreme southwest portion of southern Spain, it is the only place on this planet to get Cruz Campo beer is southern Spain, England, for some bizarre, strange reason, or Luxembourg. And as somebody already successfully guessed, they already guessed Wales this morning. I don't think they guessed. I think they cheated. They watched Times Radio this morning. Now the story is, where am I within the entirety of the United Kingdom? Because I am not in Wales. And you need to get more specific. Diane Cases, that was random. You need to get more specific. So I could be in Belfast. I could be in Glasgow. It's full on Where's Waldo for Malcolm these days. Give us your best shot in the comments. Okay, that's it for this show. We went over 10 minutes. We answered all the questions. Jacob, any last thoughts for today?
Let's see. Tomorrow I'll be looking out for Lebanon, how that dossier is going. I don't anticipate any headway in terms of the so-called negotiations. And there'll probably be some more mind-blowing shit before we meet again in 23 hours, I guess.
Wajeeh, Shisama.
The conflict is still very unstable. Peace talks don't seem like they're going well or happening at all. Trump manipulation of the market is almost coming to a failing point. The world has come to resenting the United States and resenting the U.S. leadership. I will be having my own Q&A after this space. Okay. So if you want to join.
To that.
Thank you for having me over. And you're welcome to join the talk as well if you would like.
Okay. Well, I have to drive a bit. One request. For those of you, I know I requested many of you stop using X.com, also known as Twitter. And I still encourage you not to use it. It sucks. I use it just because I harass people and I have 1 million followers on Twitter. But I have a request. those of you know that my memoir is coming out next year. My former division officer, when I was at the National Security Agency, um, I want him to write the foreword to my memoir. And you're going to go, Malcolm, who is that? His name at the time was Lieutenant, then left as Lieutenant Commander Montel Williams. Was my division officer when I was at NSA. And go to his Twitter and go, hey, Montel, Malcolm Nance wants you to write the foreword to his memoir. Get in touch with him. No one can find out his, I know his agency and all of that stuff. That guy's hard to get a hold of. He's doing a TV show for like Military Times or something right now where they go and help military families. So let's go harass Montel Williams. And he can write the foreword to my memoir, Thinker, Sailor, Black Man, Spy. That being said, if you are watching this on YouTube, you're probably watching it about midday because it takes me that long to download everything, redo it, upload it back to YouTube. It's not automatic anymore, so there are delays in that. So please come over to Substack and watch this live every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 1500 Central European Time, 1400 English Greenwich Mean Time. What time is it in Iran? I think it's 16:30 by half hour over in Tehran. Or 6 a.m.
more.
Australia time.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. So that being said, please come and watch and follow Jacob Kaarsbo at Substack.com, Wajeeh Lion at Substack.com, Malcolm Nance at Substack.com. Again, I think they've done a recalibration of followers. I dropped 500 like 72 hours. If you just come on for free and recommend the podcast to others so that we can go back up to number 9 in world politics. I think people are just allowing the situation with the war in Iran to get to them. Now we're going to shift this to the geopolitical discussion, which is now affecting every one of our lives. So thank you for coming. Wajeeh, Jacob, see you all tomorrow this time.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. I'll see you tomorrow.